Yo, my name's Ian, I like making cards, and today, in tribute to the recent TV show that just came out, I wanted to talk about the fascinating darker 1930 variant of Spider-Man, Spider-Noir, and notice the differences between the show and the comics. The show follows a man named Ben Reilly in the 1930s. We learn that Ben got his powers in World War I when he led a group of soldiers to liberate a camp in France. There, they found that the Germans had been undergoing experiments on the prisoners of war. The screams of 30 men filled the dark, cold room, with every one of them being strapped to their beds and hooked up to devices containing different creatures. The Germans were trying to create a human-animal hybrid mutations. Some prisoners had succumbed further in their mutations than others, with even physical mutations coming from the alteration of DNA. Trying to save who he could, Ben rushed to one of the resting men and began cutting him free. Looking closely, Ben noticed a tarantula crawling up the side of the container. Looking back, the resting man had fully awakened and revealed the left side of his face to be that of a spider, with short black hair covering his extra 4 eyes and mandibles. Stepping back revealed the man's entire abdomen to be disfigured into one of a spider's too, growing unnaturally round and hairy. Before being able to react, the man grabbed Ben and bit him. Ben screamed in pain and was unable to break from his bite, causing Ben to shoot the mutant and retreat with the few men he was able to save. The following grueling days were spent in the medical bay, where Ben could feel himself slowly losing control of his body with every passing minute. His arms and legs would twitch and jerk sporadically, and basic muscle memory became foreign to him as the days continued. The Army's medics tried everything to understand what was happening to him. They collected blood, they cut him open, but in the end they told Ben that there was nothing they could do to help him. Truthfully, they weren't even looking for a cure though. They only saw Ben as an opportunity to be a weapon, and all they were really doing was figuring out if he was enhanced in any way. But when they found out that he was just a broken, useless man, they sent him back home. Weeks later, Ben's body had fully succumbed to his mutations. His muscles slowly disintegrated and were remade into a hydraulic system, using fluids from his body to dramatically increase his strength, along with web glands that were synthesized at his wrists, allowing Ben to shoot black webs. Most of the mutation remained internal, allowing Ben to retain his human appearance. However, his brain was altered in the transformation, and his once human thoughts and actions became foreign, and replaced with hyper-focused senses and animalistic agility. Ben was forced to study his peers on the streets and plays to mimic their human actions. He often found himself unable to sleep at night and stay awake during the day, fully mimicking a spider's nocturnal pattern. With nothing to do at the night, Ben decided to test out his new abilities. He took his old World War suit and reformed it into a black costume. Accompanied with a trench coat, mask, hat, and his old revolvers, Ben would swing through the city. But he never fully took advantage of his powers, only really stopping robbers or other wrongdoers. Years passed with the hero of the night, known as the Spider, protecting the people of the city. And Ben Reilly, who is now able to control his mutation, works as a private detective and met his wife Ruby. But in those years, Ben began getting careless, and most nights he would often turn to the bottle, even when putting on the suit. His recklessness was noticed and brought up to him by his friend Robert Robinson, who is a reporter that knows of his secret identity, but Ben brushed off his concern with a witty joke. However, later that year, when Ben was off across town getting drunk, Ruby had been attacked by one of the criminals that the Spider put away, cuffing her hands to the wheel and driving her off the road into the water. Ben came as fast as he could, but was ultimately too late to save his fiancée. The show starts 5 years after those events, and ever since that day, the Spider had been missing. Never far from a drink, Ben had begun slowly living out the rest of his days and acting recklessly, with little regard to his own life, until forced to put back on the suit when faced with a confrontation by the main mob boss running the city, Silvermane. In this version of Spider-Man, the show recognizes the Spider to be older and out of shape, and is able to put a lot of emphasis on the current period of time through Ben Reilly, which is where his comic book counterpart struggles. The first Spider-Man Noir issue that's released in 2008 differs a lot from the show. Instead of Ben Reilly, Spider-Man's name is Peter Parker, and his superhero name is Spider-Man instead of the Spider. The name was changed for the show due to legal issues from Marvel and Sony with the character, and instead of a 60-year-old man, Peter is 19, but it still takes place in the same time period. The 19-year-old Peter Parker, who was raised by his activist Aunt May, discovers the death of his Uncle Ben, a World War I veteran. His body was severely mangled and looked as though he had been fed upon. In the distance, roaring screeched echoed through the streets. It had to be the Vulture, one of the enforcers for the mob boss Norman Osborn. Norman had been paying the cops to feed his pet, and Ben's murder had been chalked up to a stray dog attack. Lacking the power to fight back or the money to go to school, Peter met up with Ben Yurch, a reporter who was trying to expose Norman. Together, they go to one of Norman's smuggling ring warehouses. There, when they're distracted by all the mystical artifacts and priceless antiques, Peter broke an ancient-looking spider statue and released hundreds of exotic spiders. Though cover blown, they both ran and escaped the warehouse, but Peter got bit in the commotion. Later, Peter fainted and hallucinated about a spider god, who explained that it only grants power to those worthy of it, and will only use it to fight evil. When Peter awakens, he possesses Spider-Man powers, enhanced agility, strength, and the ability to shoot black webs. Peter reconstructs his Uncle Ben's old World War I suit into the Spider-Man Noir suit, and he and Yurish work together to track down Norman to his lair. Face to face now, Norman takes off his face to reveal his true appearance, as a scaly reptilian green skin, and revealed his identity as the Goblin that has been terrorizing the city at night. Yurish is able to publish incriminating evidence, and Peter bests the Goblin in combat, but chooses to spare him to please his aunt. However, the exotic spiders hoard the lair and devour the Goblin, confirming to Peter that the Spider God exists. The comic book Noir leans more into the supernatural aspect of the character, where the show focuses more on the environment and doesn't let the powers disrupt the realistic setting. And if you're interested, go watch the show and read the comics. There's a lot more that I didn't cover here. But thank you guys so much for watching and listening to the story. I love how the card turned out. If you want to see more, subscribe, and I'll see you later.